Redfin came out with a pretty big report. Apparently, San Francisco apartments and condos and townhouses are just going down the drain, and it's just getting worse. And it's not just San Francisco, it's basically the whole entire California region. California in general is just no longer having the same appeal as was before the pandemic. I think before the pandemic, people were willing to put up with the crazy stuff California had to do, right? California, crazy laws. Stealing a business of $950 is a misdemeanor. And laws are super lax. There's open air drug markets in many of the places in California. And people just put up with it, right? Because it was just such a lucrative state. But now with so many companies flowing out, workers are leaving, everyone is leaving. California already has a massive decrease in population, whereas before, California's population has always been increasing. And now a new report from the real estate brokerage Redfin is saying that 1 out of every 8 homes, or about 12% of every single home in San Francisco, is at a massive loss. And the crazy thing about San Francisco is you could actually buy a unit here, right? Or an office building, whatever it is. Like 10 to 20 years ago. If you sell it now, you're going to be selling it at a loss. Wells Fargo, infamous situation in the past few days, sold their office building around this area, which is the Trans-America Pyramid area. It's a very good area. Like this area actually doesn't have any like homeless tents or open air drug markets. But Wells Fargo bought their building back in 2005. So you would think that they would at least make several $1,000,000, bare minimum, but they actually lost 60%. Imagine buying a building for almost $110 million. In 2005, you sold it this year for $40 million. You are super mad, right? I mean, 2005 prices and now, come on, like 60% off from that. It's crazy. Like some people are saying that San Francisco's office real estate is probably like in the 90s territory in terms of pricing, and residential isn't doing well either. And it's just only going to get worse. And looking at other markets, Detroit came after San Francisco with 6.9% of homes sold during the 3 months ending July 31st being purchased for less than what the seller originally paid for. Chicago, New York, Cleveland are all pretty much behind, but you don't really hear things like even LA real estate, despite how bad it is, some of the cheaper homes are still selling. But we'll also get to Los Angeles because their luxury real estate, homes above $5 million, are absolutely busted, and developers are actually pretty scared. But you do see a lot of cities like Austin, Las Vegas, Denver, many of the suburban cities in the Midwest, and basically all of Florida are doing really well. In fact, many of the areas in the U.S., real estate prices are at an all-time high, whereas San Francisco is just in the dumps. Home values in San Francisco have fallen by almost 8% over a year in June, a loss of nearly $60 billion according to Redfin data. Los Angeles saw the biggest decline in home value by nearly $153 billion. Many of it is from not really commercial real estate, but it's going to be from their massive listings of luxury properties. The amount of homes in LA that are above $5 million is crazy. Like $5 million in LA, like the homes, they look nice, but they're not like insanely impressive. Okay, and if you spend like $1 million in Midwest, get you like a crazy nice mansion with a pool. Followed by Oakland with almost $86 billion. This is insane. These are billions, okay? So just from 3 different areas in California, not including like San Jose or Sacramento or the other areas, we have collectively just saw almost $300 billion being wiped off the market for California real estate. Just from 3 cities. And we're not adding in like other smaller cities around the area, which are taking massive beatings. But if you look at Los Angeles, you're facing the same thing, right? You know, you got this crazy transfer tax. You could almost call it a stamp duty tax at this point. It's a tax of 4% for sales above $5 million, which is a pretty fat amount. I mean, LA real estate is already super undesirable. You're seeing mansions even before the stamp duty tax being very difficult to sell. And now mansions and hotter listings above $5 million, nobody wants it because who wants to be paying 4%, right? And then 5.5% for deals above $10 million. These are some insane numbers. And I know you may be like, oh, it's only 5.5%. I mean, rich people can afford it. But here's the thing, rich people don't want to pay for that, right? You know, a lot of rich people in LA who are in buying a home, they're like, screw this. Right? If I'm going to be paying so much extra just to have a home in LA, like a $5 million house, I'll rather go to places like Miami, right? Miami gets something even better for $5 million. And you don't have to pay any sort of transfer tax. And many of these cities like New York City, San Francisco, they all have these extra taxes on top of it just so the city can make extra money because the real estate is so desirable. But now real estate in many of these places are no longer desirable. I mean, look at LA, guys. Look at the amount of homes above $5 million. Nobody wants any of these homes. These homes are on the market for hundreds of days with already several price cuts. Okay, like this one. It's $8 million, already got to $500,000 price cut. It's absolutely insane. They're going to be getting more and more of these price cuts, and many of these homes look absolutely fantastic, but nobody wants it because you got to do an extra 4% on top of the listed price, which is a pretty crazy amount. That's hundreds and thousands of dollars they're spending just for the government, and that's just a massive turnoff for people who have the money to buy these apartments and condos and massive mansions. And if you look at San Francisco, it's not looking so great either, right? San Francisco is experiencing a big exodus of massive tech companies. Salesforce CEO is already super mad about this whole situation. The reason why is they pretty much said that the safety in San Francisco is just lacking. It's just not great at all. Salesforce, by far the biggest employer of San Francisco. The CEO said that when they hosted their AI event, Dreamforce, the security was great. Okay, there wasn't any homelessness, there wasn't any tents, there wasn't any crime around the area. But the moment when the event was over after 2 days, it just became like a massive, just terrible area. He pretty much says like, why can't San Francisco just be nice all around, all the time? Why do they only be nice for certain areas during certain major events? Why can't they just clean everything up like usual? They just can't do it, right? I mean, the whole defund the police situation, they're short by 600 officers. This is why crime is so rampant. They also have barely any auxiliary staff. Like, just 911, for example, you don't even have that many people working there. Oakland over there, there's literally hold times for 911. 911 even shut down for 24 hours in Oakland. These are the insane things in the Bay Area, which is causing so many people to move out. And even loyal Bay Area companies like Airbnb, who started their whole entire business in San Francisco, started out with a mattress in San Francisco. Even Airbnb is shutting down so many of the offices and only has one office in 888 Howard Street now. And they're not opening up any more offices. Redfin says that around 3% of homeowners in the U.S. took losses when selling their homes. San Francisco is 4 to 5 times more likely. And San Francisco is not changing anytime soon. People have said that, hey man, like San Francisco real estate, according to some of the numbers, prices are going up. Absolutely not. Okay. San Francisco is not getting an exodus of people. They're getting, a huge outflow. People just flooding out. You got whole streets, which used to be high-end real estate, high-end retail, being completely empty. And we're also seeing the Feds hiking up rates like crazy. And if you guys think the Feds are done hiking up rates, really think again. The Feds are just getting started in terms of rate hikes. And they're not stopping anytime soon. In fact, the situation is only going to get worse because the markets are saying that the Feds will probably only start cutting rates by just a teeny tiny bit in next year, October. So get ready for a pretty fat crash in the real estate market. San Francisco real estate is still pretty expensive. Like 2 bedrooms will still run your pockets of $800,000 to $1 million. And I think prices will drop even more, especially with nobody buying them and also barely any construction.